The continual expansion of the college football playoffs is going to ruin the luster and the just mystique of the college football playoffs. A lot of you have already felt this with them expanding from just the final game to the final four to the final 12 to the final 14 to the final 64. Soon we're going to have 129 teams playing, and it's going to be like college basketball, which is a bit of a different format. And I do think they should cut the teams in college basketball as well, but basketball and football are a little different. And kind of my issue with this is, although I do think the NFL also has too many playoff teams, the issue with college football is the elite athletes are so concentrated at Texas, Ohio State, Alabama, the big dogs, Penn State, Notre Dame, that there isn't a possibility that the 9 seed is ever going to win. That just isn't going to happen. And when we saw these teams play, it just isn't going to happen. And they're just going to keep expanding it, and these teams cannot win, especially win multiple games. It's one thing if somehow you got the 12th seed, or we're going to expand to 16. It's one thing if you get the 16 seed to play the 1 seed in one game. I guess they could win. They're probably going to be 12, 13, 14-point dogs, but they could win. Bad teams beat better teams. The issue is a 16 seed ever going to go on a run and win multiple games? And in college football, it's not going to happen. In the NFL, maybe, because the teams are all so even. The best team in the AFC versus the 7th best team. The 7th best team can go on a run. I mean, it's possible. It's not likely, but it's definitely more likely than in college football. Because every team in the NFL has a fighting chance. Every team in college football does not have a fighting chance. These teams, the gaps between the first best team in Texas, and I know it's a preseason ranking, but the difference between Texas and Iowa, barring some insane injury, I can tell you before the season that Iowa is not going to end up beating Texas. And if they do beat Texas somehow in one game, they're not going to string together multiple wins. They just don't have the talent. In the NFL, there is no such thing as a glaring hole. That just isn't a thing. Now, there might be, you're going up against an elite wide receiving core. You're the Bengals. You're going up against the Bengals. And you might be playing as the Bills or the Ravens. And the Bengals are significantly better than you. But your wide receivers are still competent. They're still good enough. There is no such thing as the glaring hole, the left tackle that just can't block. In college football, you have the teams that have 50% of their lineup as NFL players, and another 50% with a good showing in the playoffs can become NFL players. There aren't any bad guys on Texas, and there are a lot of high-caliber NFL talent players on Texas. When you go to Boise State, they had an NFL player in Ashton Jeanty, an okay quarterback, and that was it. That was it. And that just isn't... In football, you cannot win that way. In basketball, if you have a top 5... Jeanty was 6th or 7th in the draft, but in basketball, if you have that, Steph Curry, you can win some games in college basketball because they can be your offense and they can control half of the floor. And if you dominate on offense, there's a good chance you win your games. Ashton Jeanty cannot dominate offense by himself against the top teams. You can't just have one guy take over for you. And that's just the reality. When you go up against these top dogs, the Penn States, the Ohio States, the gap between Jeremiah Smith and your best receiver, it's just too big. It just is too big. In the NFL, that's not really the case. There isn't a guy in the NFL that ever needs to be triple teamed. There isn't even really a guy, and this is going to sound crazy, when people reference wide receivers getting double teamed, that's on occasion. And you might have the safety over top on every play that kind of is double teaming everyone. NFL receivers are not getting double teamed. Jeremiah Smith was getting triple teamed by Texas, an elite team, the number 1 team this year, but last year was an elite team. There are no NFL receivers that are changing the landscape of a game like a Jeremiah Smith. You might focus on Jamar Chase and double him on 3rd and shorts, okay. Or you might have a safety shade over and you have more additional support. What they do in college to stop an Ashton Jeanty or Jeremiah Smith is not the same as what they do to stop NFL players that are elite. You just can't compete. And when we go from outside of just the top 4 teams, I could maybe even get behind the top 8, okay? And the formatting is an absolute joke as well. The way they do it, especially with the ACC, with all these conferences having their final week, an absolute shit show. The way these things go down, the way they do seeding, it's a total mess. The auto bids makes no sense. But just continuously expanding to where at some point we're probably going to get to 64, at least 32. They're going to get to 32 soon. If you don't believe me, check back in a couple years. They're going to be at 32 soon. I mean, what is going like the college football playoffs are supposed to feel like big games. When we just keep going higher and higher and higher and higher, you're going to start throwing in D3 teams. You're going to have a D3 team that only has 13 players. Everybody's playing both ways, and you don't even have a kicker trying to beat Alabama, trying to beat Clemson. It isn't real.